The sandstorm roared across the dead land like a hungry beast. Sharp grains of red dust bit into her skin, tearing at the soft scales on her face and arms. She couldn't see more than a few feet in front of her. The wind howled in her ears like screams from a forgotten world. She was alone. Her name was Kailari. She was not a warrior, not a soldier, just a survivor from the planet Alos. And now she was running. Her breathing was heavy. Her forefingers clutched the edge of her cloak, trying to shield her eyes. Her boots sank deep into the dry, cracked earth with every step. Her legs were weak, her throat dry like sandpaper. But she couldn't stop, not yet. If she did, the storm would take her. But it wasn't the storm she feared the most. Behind her, something else hunted. Creatures in the windtall, wrapped in bone and metal. Slavers, raiders, monsters with no name. She had escaped them, barely. She had seen what they did to others. They didn't kill. They collected, and Kailari was not ready to be collected. She stumbled over a rock hidden beneath the dust and fell hard. Pain shot through her elbow as she hit the ground. She lay there for a moment, shaking, as the storm covered her slowly in layers of red. Then she saw it. A faint blue light, flickering like a star close to the ground. Her blurry eyes focused. It was coming from what looked like a square door, buried. Halfway in the rocks, a shelter. She didn't think. She didn't hope. She just moved. Kailari crawled, dragging herself forward, pulling with every last bit of strength. Her body screamed, but her heart pushed her. The door was metal, old, rusted. She slammed her palm against it. Nothing happened. She screamed into the wind, "Please, please open." She hit the door again, weaker now. Her voice cracked. Her head dropped just as her vision started to fade. The door clicked. It opened with a low, grinding sound. Warm air rushed out. A figure stood inside. Tall, broad, 2 arms, 2 legs. A human. Kailari froze. Her eyes widened in disbelief. No, that wasn't possible. Humans were extinct. Oh, burned out by war, eaten by the void. That's what everyone said. A lie. That's what she had learned in the archives. But he stood there, holding a glowing torch in one hand and some kind of weapon in the other. "Get inside," he said, voice rough but strong. Kailari fell forward. He caught her before she hit the ground. She felt strong arms wrap around her. The last thing she saw was his face-tired eyes, sunburned skin, and a scar over his jaw. And then darkness. She woke up on a soft bed. Her skin was clean. Her arms bandaged. She wore warm cloth around her shoulders, and the air smelled like metal and something sweet. Kailari blinked. There was light above, soft yellow, not from the sun. Then she saw him again. He sat nearby, drinking from a cup. He didn't look at her at first. He just said, "You're lucky I was watching the sensors." That storm almost buried the door. Kailari sat up slowly. Her voice was soft. "You're human." "Last time I checked," he replied. "Still not." Smiling. "But humans are extinct. Everyone knows that." The man finally looked at her. His eyes were sharp, like he was reading her soul. "Yeah, then I guess I'm a ghost." Kailari stared. "How are you alive?" "This planet. It's dead." He shrugged. "Not dead, just sleeping, and I don't die easy." There was silence between them. The only sound was the soft hum of machines in the background. "Why did you save me?" she asked. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he stood up, walked to a cabinet, and poured her a cup of warm liquid. He handed it to her. "Because you banged on my door," he said simply. Kailari looked down at the cup. It was real. The heat touched her hands. "What's your name?" she asked, still shaking. "Call me Jack," he said. "And you?" "Kailari." All right, Kalari, he said, walking back to his chair. You can stay here till the storm passes. After that, we'll see. Kalari nodded, but her mind raced. A living human. In a shelter. On a planet no one came to anymore. This changed everything. And somehow, she knew. The storm was not over. Not outside. Not inside. Because the real danger might just be what came. Next, the shelter was silent, but it felt alive. Kalari sat up slowly, wrapped in a warm thermal blanket. The strange drink Jack had given her was still in her hands. It was thick, sweet, and warm. Nothing like the bitter survival rations she'd grown up with on transport ships and refugee colonies. This was real food. Homemade, human-made. The room was filled with strange objects, metal boxes with blinking lights. Shelves full of old tools and long rolled maps pinned to the walls. A fire crackled quietly in the corner, giving off more warmth than she thought possible in such a dead world. Jack sat at a small workbench nearby. He was fixing something, some kind of device made of wires and small lights. He hadn't spoken. Much after she'd introduced herself, but Kalari's eyes hadn't left him since. She still couldn't believe it. A real human, living, breathing, talking. He wasn't wearing armor or any kind of uniform. He had a simple shirt, rough pants, and boots caked with red dust. His beard was short but scruffy, and the scar on his jaw told her he'd seen fights, real ones. He moved with calm skill, like he'd done this work 1,000 times. You? Said humans were extinct, he finally said without looking up. Kalari flinched slightly. Yes, that's what they taught us. After the Orion Wars, your kind disappeared. Jack chuckled. We didn't disappear. We just stopped playing nice with the galaxy. Kalari tilted her head. What do you mean? Jack put down his tool and looked at her. His eyes weren't cruel, but they were sharp. Tired. Humans got tired of the lies, the betrayals. We were always outnumbered, always the punchline. So, we left, vanished. Some of us didn't make it. But a few of us found places to hide. She studied him for a long second. You? Stayed here, alone. He nodded. This outpost was once a research station. My team died long ago. I stayed because, well, someone had to. Why you? He didn't answer right away. Then he muttered, because I had nothing to go back to. Kalari lowered her eyes. She knew that feeling too well. She looked around. How does this place still work? Jack stood and walked over to a small control panel. He tapped a few buttons. Screens lit up, showing weather patterns, heat readings, and motion sensors. Solar panels, old tech. Some of it's alien junk I repurposed, keeps the heat on. Water is recycled. Food, I grow some in the back chamber. It's not much, but it keeps me alive. Kalari stood slowly, still holding her drink. You have a farm. He smirked. Sort of. A greenhouse? You want to see. She nodded. He led her through a narrow hallway, past thick metal doors that hissed open with a press of his handprint. Inside, she gasped plants. Real green plants, thick-leaved. Bushes, strange vines, small fruit trees glowing under artificial lights. Water dripped gently from tubes, and the air was humid and full of life. Kalari stepped forward, staring at it all in awe. I thought nothing could grow on this planet, she whispered. Jack stood beside her. It can, if you know how to trick nature. Why go through all this trouble? He looked at her, serious. Because if we stop trying, we really do go extinct. Kalari touched one of the leaves gently, her 4 fingers trembling. She hadn't touched something living like this in years. Thank you, she whispered. Jack shrugged. I didn't grow them for you. But you're sharing them. He didn't answer, but he didn't stop her either. Back in the main room. She finally sat down across from him at the small table. She noticed a photo on the wall. It was faded and yellowed, but it showed a group of humans smiling in front of the same shelter. She pointed at it. Your family. Jack followed her gaze. His expression darkened. No, he said quietly. My team. We were sent here to study the soil before the wars reached this system. Most of them didn't survive when the raiders came. You stayed behind. I buried them here. Silence fell again. But it wasn't cold. It was full of memories, pain, history, and survival. Kylar finally asked the question that had been burning in her mind since she arrived. Are there more like you? Jack didn't answer immediately. Then he said, maybe, maybe not. I haven't heard a human voice in 10 years. Kylari's breath caught. 10 years. 10 years without hearing your own kind. She swallowed. Why not leave? Look for others. Jack leaned back in his chair, looking at the ceiling. I tried once, took a shuttle, got shot down. Two ribs. And a leg guy had to grow it back with black market alien tech. After that, I decided I liked staying put. Kylari was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled softly. You don't talk like the myths. What myths? That humans are cold, violent monsters. You don't seem like a monster. Jack laughed for the first time. A deep, honest laugh. Well, I haven't stabbed anyone. Today? Maybe I'm out of practice. Kylar laughed too, a soft sound she didn't expect from herself. For a moment, inside that quiet shelter on a dead planet, two people from two different worlds shared something rare. Not food, not shelter, but hope. The next day, Kylari woke to the smell of cooked food. Her body still ached from the storm, but the pain had faded into a dull memory. Her eyes blinked slowly. The room was dim, quiet, and strangely peaceful. Jack stood near the stove, flipping something on a hot plate. It sizzled and sent steam into the air. Kylari sat up, brushing her hair back behind her pointed ears. She watched him silently. You ever had real eggs? Jack asked without turning around. Kylari blinked. Eggs. Jack placed a hot plate in front of her. Two yellow discs, slightly browned, with some soft plant slices on the side. Her stomach growled before she could answer. She picked up the fork slowly, unsure. Her people ate through food, gel tubes easy to store. No taste, no joy. She took one bite and froze. Warm, soft, savory. Her eyes closed for a moment. Jack smirked. Yeah, I remember my first real meal after 6 months of ration bars. I almost cried. Kylari swallowed hard. This is amazing. He shrugged. Simple things keep you sane. After they finished eating, Jack sat down across from her, arms folded. His gaze was serious now. You want answers? Kylari nodded. All right, I'll tell you what I can. He leaned back in the chair. But some things, they're not easy to say. I understand. He took a deep breath. My full name is Captain Jack Rowan. I was part of the last Earth expansion fleet project, Dawnfall. We were supposed to find habitable planets before the collapse. Kylari's eyes widened. The collapse? You mean? The fall of the human empire. Jack nodded. It wasn't just war. It was betrayal. We trusted the Unity Council dozens of alien governments working together. But not all of them wanted humans around. He stared at the wall as if seeing ghosts. One by one, our colonies disappeared. Cut off, attacked. Some were poisoned, others were nuked from orbit. Kylari listened, frozen. Our own allies turned on us, said we were dangerous, unstable. They wanted to wipe us out, not with fire, but silence. Kylari whispered, I always heard humans disappeared on their own. Went mad. Jack laughed bitterly. Mad? We built cities on lava planets. We cured alien diseases. We fought wars we didn't start and still came out stronger. He stood and walked to a shelf. From a dusty box, he pulled out a small hologram cube with a tap. It lit up. Kailari saw a group of humans in uniform, young, proud, strong. In the middle stood Jack. No beard, clean suit. A badge on his chest. U.S. Harbinger. That was my team, he said. All gone now? What happened to them? Kailari asked softly. Jack's hand tightened around the cube. They died protecting me. He sat back down, eyes dark. We were stationed here for research. This planet had strange minerals useful for ship fuel, but raiders found us first. Alien mercs, paid by someone. Someone high up. Kailari felt cold chill. You think it was political? I know it was, Jack said. We sent distress signals. No one came. Our own people stopped answering. He looked at her, voice low. I buried 9 people that week. I only survived because I crawled into a collapsed tunnel and let them think I was dead. Silence filled the shelter again. But this time it was heavier, deeper. Kailari's voice shook. And after that, you just stayed. Jack gave a half smile. I had nowhere else to go. I fixed what I could. Learned to grow food. Taught myself alien languages. Built defenses. And waited. For what? For someone to prove we weren't. Alone, Kailari looked at him. Truly looked. He wasn't just a survivor. He was a soldier with a broken heart. She reached forward, gently placing her hand over his. You were never forgotten, Jack. Just hidden. Jack didn't pull away. You know, he said softly, you're the first living being I've talked to in 5 years. Kailari blinked. 5. He nodded. I talk to the fire sometimes, and myself, but you're real. I'm sorry you went through that. He gave her a small smile. You've got nothing to be sorry for. You walked into my shelter and reminded me why I'm still here. Kailari felt her throat tighten. There was pain in this place, but also purpose. Later that day, Jacques opened a sealed door at the back of the shelter. I want to show you something, he said. She followed him into a cold chamber lit with dim lights. On one wall, there was a massive map drawn by hand. Dozens of red pins and green dots covered it. These, he said, pointing to the dots, are places I've seen alien activity. Ships passing by, signals intercepted. Kailari stepped closer. One green light blinked slowly. What's that? Jack's face changed. A signal I caught last year. Weak, but human code. Kailari's eyes widened. There's another human out there? Maybe. I couldn't leave the shelter long enough to follow it. She turned to him. Then, let's find it. Together. Jack looked at her like she was offering him the stars. All right, Kailari. Let's find the rest of humanity. The silence of the wasteland was never truly silent. Outside the shelter, the sandstorm had died down, leaving behind a ghostly stillness. The dunes stretched endlessly, and the sky had turned an eerie orange under the twin moons. But beneath that stillness, something moved, inside the shelter. Jack stood at the monitor, his brow furrowed. Kailari sat nearby, watching him closely. He tapped the screen again. Something's wrong. Kailari leaned forward. What is it? Jack didn't answer right away. He enlarged one of the security. Feed Zane outside camera facing the rocky path leading to the shelter. The camera lens was dusty, but the footprints were clear. A trail of them. Fresh, not hers. Someone's out there, Jack muttered. Kailari stood, her heart suddenly racing. How? The storm only ended an hour ago. I don't know. Jack said, moving quickly to the weapon locker. But they didn't just wander here. Those prints are too steady. Trained movement. He handed Kailari a small stun device. Know how to use one of these? She nodded slowly. Yes, but I haven't held one in years. Let's hope you don't have to, he said. Stay near me. They moved through the main hall, Jack tapping controls to activate old defense systems. Tiny turrets unfolded from the ceiling corners. With a soft whir, light red dots blinked to life. He checked his rifle, loaded it, then paused. Kailari placed a hand on his arm. You think it's the raiders again? Jack's voice was low. If it is, they made a mistake coming here. Minutes passed. The shelter's sensors beeped once, then went quiet. Outside, the sand shifted again. A small rock rolled down from a dune, and then the first knock. Not loud, not rushed, just deliberate. Knock, knock, knock. Kailari froze. Jack raised his rifle and stepped toward the door. His hand hovered. Above the manual release button. If it's them, he whispered, don't hesitate. Kailari swallowed. I won't knock, knock. And then a voice. A broken, metallic one. Shelter resident. This is Unit 37. Requesting medical help. Injured? No weapons. Jack blinked. A drone. Kailari's eyes widened. That sounded like synthetic speech. Jack tapped a side panel, activating a tiny drone camera just above the door. The feed popped up. Outside stood a figure half buried in sand. It was not human, and not fully machine. A hybrid. One leg was mechanical. Its left eye glowed blue. Metal ribs poked through torn armor. A tuck. A thick trail of dark oil blood lead. Down its side. Jack frowned. That's not one of mine. Kailari leaned in. He looks damaged. Jack watched closely. He could still be dangerous. These things were used by the pirates during the last raids. Mind-controlled hybrids. Sometimes they break free. Kailari stepped back. Then he's a threat. Maybe, but Jack paused. He came to this shelter. That means something. He hit the button. The door hissed open. Cold. Air rushed in. The hybrid staggered forward, eyes flickering. It collapsed at Jack's feet. Later, in the med chamber, Jack cleaned the hybrid's wounds. It had gone unconscious moments after falling inside. Kailari stayed back, watching carefully. What are you doing? She asked. Saving him, Jack replied. You don't even know what he is. Jack didn't look up. That's the point. Maybe he doesn't either. He connected a wire from the hybrid's neck to a scanner. Data scrolled across the screen in old Earth symbols. Yep, he muttered. Ex-soldier. Human brain patterns. But body modified with alien tech. This was one of ours taken, changed, abandoned. Kailari's breath caught. He's human. Part of him, Jack said. Maybe the best part. The hybrid's eye blinked slowly. Its voice cracked. Am I home? Jack nodded. Yeah, you're safe now. Kailari couldn't stop watching. Something about this half-man, half-machine creature made her chest tighten. He looked like something built for war. But his voice sounded lost. Like a child who had finally found a door still open. Hours later, Jack and Kailari sat in the control room. The hybrid slept in the med chamber, connected to a soft pulse monitor. Kailari finally broke the silence. This shelter, it's more than a home, isn't it? Jack nodded. It's a last chance. For anyone broken, hunted, or forgotten. You included. He gave a tired smile. Especially me. She looked at the blinking map again. The green dot still glowed in the distance. And what about that signal? We follow it? But now, we're not just two. She nodded. We're three. Jack looked out the small window where the night wind moved the sand like waves. "We need to leave soon," he said. "That signal may not last long." Kailari stood beside him. "But next time," she whispered, "we'll leave the door open for whoever needs it." Jack smiled. "Always." The hybrid was still unconscious, his breathing slow but steady. Jack kept checking the monitor every hour while Kailari sat nearby, eyes fixed on the sleeping figure. She couldn't stop thinking about what Jack had said. Part human, part machine. Brain still functioning, and most of all, he had spoken. He had asked, "Am I home?" But that night, long after the lights dimmed and Jack went to rest, something changed. Kailari heard a sound clink. Clink, scrape. She opened her eyes. The sound was coming from the med chamber. She rose slowly, barefoot, and stepped into the hall. The door to the chamber was slightly open. Inside, the hybrid was no longer sleeping. He stood hunched over, pulling wires out of the wall, his glowing blue eye flickering. "Hey," Kailari called. The hybrid turned slowly. Its body jerked unnaturally, like a puppet with cut strings. One metal arm hung loose, and dark fluid leaked from a cut on his shoulder. But the eye, it had changed color. Now it glowed red. "Emergency?" "Protocol," the hybrid said, voice deeper, harsher. "Target, hostile. Eliminate all threats." Kailari's blood turned cold. He wasn't asking for help anymore. He was hunting. Jack was on his feet in seconds, rushing into the hallway with a weapon in hand. He found Kailari, backing away slowly, her hands raised, facing the twitching hybrid. "Don't shoot," she said quickly. "He's glitching." The hybrid turned its head sharply toward Jack. Human detected. High priority target. Execute. Jack didn't hesitate. He fired. The stun shot hit the hybrid square in the chest. It staggered, but didn't fall. Of course not," Jack muttered. "They made you to survive worse." The hybrid lunged. Jack rolled to the side, pulling Kailari down with him. The hybrid slammed into the wall, metal arm punching a dent straight through steel. Kailari grabbed the stun rod Jack had given her earlier. "I can hit him again," she shouted. "No," Jack yelled. "Not yet. We can shut him down without frying his brain." "How?" "There's an override port behind the spine joint, but someone has to get close." Kailari didn't hesitate. She dodged the hybrid's swing and dove behind him, grabbing onto the exposed joint near the base of its back. The hybrid roared, turning violently. Jack rushed forward and jammed a small device into the port. Sparks flew. The hybrid froze, arms twitching in, then collapsed to the floor. Motionless. The lights in its eyes went dark. Minutes later, Kailari sat on the floor, shaking. Jack placed a hand on her shoulder. "You okay?" She nodded slowly. "I've seen machines go rogue before. This wasn't just programming." He was scared. Jack looked at the unconscious body again. They used to take captured humans and break them into soldiers. Some could fight the code, others couldn't. Kailari's voice cracked. "Do you think he can be saved?" "I think, if someone's asking for home, they want to be saved." She looked up at him. "Then we try." Jack gave her a small smile. "You're more human than most aliens I've met. And you're not the monster we were taught to fear." She replied. Over the next few days, Jack worked non-stop to repair the hybrid's neural implants. He used old Earth software and alien parts scavenged from wrecks. Kailari stayed nearby, learning from him, asking questions, helping when she could. Jack didn't say it aloud, but he admired her courage. Most people would have run. She stayed. On the third day, the hybrid opened his eye again, blue, not red. His voice was quiet. "Did I hurt anyone?" "No," Kailari said gently. "You were scared, but we're here now." The hybrid looked at his hands. "I don't remember everything, but I see flashes. A boy, a team, a war. Jack nodded. You were one of us, a soldier, and you made it back. The hybrid stared at him. Name. Jack hesitated. What? Do you remember? Only a call sign. Rook. Then we'll call you that, Kylari said softly. The hybrid Rook nodded slowly. Thank you for not ending me. Jack grinned. Would have been a shame. I just fixed you. Kylari smiled too. Welcome home, Rook. That night, the three of them sat around a small fire in the center room. For the first time, laughter echoed off. The walls, not loud, not careless. But real Kylari watched the two humans, one flesh. One part Machinon realized something important. The monsters weren't always outside. Sometimes they were built by other monsters. But sometimes broken. Things could still protect, still heal, still become a family. The morning came slowly. As if the sun was unsure about rising over the red wasteland, Jack stood on the roof of the shelter, brushing sand off an old satellite dish. The sky was clearer than it had been in weeks. No storm, no raiders, just dry wind and silence. Below, in the workshop, Kylari and Rook were clearing dust from a sealed floor panel Jack hadn't touched in years. This is it, Jack said, walking back inside. The emergency signal beacon. Kylari tilted her head. It's underground. Jack nodded. Old Earth tech, built to last. But the power source burned out long ago. That's why no one's heard from me in a decade. And you never. Fixed it? Rook asked, his voice still a little robotic but gentler now. I didn't have the parts, Jack replied. And honestly, I stopped hoping anyone would respond. Kylari placed her hand on the metal panel. Well, you're not alone anymore. Let's try. With Rook's strength and Kylari's nimble fingers, the three of them opened the hidden hatch. Inside lay a round machine, partly rusted but still whole. Wires wrapped around a crystal core and a shattered power unit dangled from one side. Jack sighed, just as I remembered, burned right through. Rook knelt beside it. His robotic eye scanned the internals. I can link my internal cell. It'll last a few minutes, enough to send a burst signal. Jack looked at him. That might fry your system. I'm already half fried, Rook said with a smirk. Let's do this. Kylari watched nervously as Rook connected his arm to the core. The machine hummed, then flickered with light. A slow pulse, built like a heartbeat. Signal initializing, Rook said, his voice slowing. Transmitting Earth code. Sector 09 Survivor Unit. Status, alive. Repeat, alive. The lights on the beacon flashed once, twice, then turned solid green. Jack stared. It's working. Rook fell backward, sparks shooting from his arm. Kylari rushed to him, catching his head before it hit the floor. He blinked. Was it enough? Jack checked the screen. We sent it. Now we wait. The next few hours were tense. They sat in the control room, watching the console like children, waiting for a message from the stars. The shelter was quiet, the wind outside. Soft Kylari sat beside Jack. Do you think someone will hear it? Jack shrugged. Maybe, if there's anyone left. She leaned her head back. What if no one answers? Then we're still here. And that's enough. Rook chuckled from the corner. I'm glad I didn't fry for nothing. Kylari smiled. You didn't. Suddenly, a loud beep echoed from the console. Jack jumped to his feet. The screen flickered. Lines of code flashing rapidly. A voice, faint, distorted, crackled through the speaker. This is Haven Command. Repeat Haven Command responding to signal. Confirm location, Kylari gasped. It's real. Jack's hands shook as he typed coordinates into the console. This is Captain Jack Rowan, Earthborn Shelter Epsilon. 9. Survivors present, Repeat survivors present. The signal went quiet, then acknowledged. Stay online. Recon unit en route. The room was silent. Jack looked at the others. Someone heard us. Kalari covered her mouth, eyes full. Of emotion, we're not the last. Rook sat up straighter. Then we better prepare. They began organizing the shelter. Jack cleaned the landing pad on the roof. Kalari prepared supplies, food, tools, and extra clothing. Rook patched his systems and even helped upgrade the outer defenses. But something heavy still sat in Jack's chest. Later that night, as Kalari sat looking at the stars, Jack joined her. She didn't look at him. You're thinking something. He nodded. I don't know if I can trust them. The people coming? Yes. What if it's not help? What if it's a trap? Kalari turned to face him. Then we'll face it together. You're not? Alone now? Jack nodded slowly. I spent so long waiting for rescue. I forgot what it felt like to have something to lose. Kalari placed her hand gently over his. Well, now you do. Jack looked down at their hands, for the first time in years. The wind didn't feel empty. That night, red blinking light appeared on the radar. A ship was approaching. Fast. Kalari stood behind Jack at the console. Rook entered the room, holding his repaired arm. They're almost here, he said. Jack whispered, let's hope they're the right ones. As the ship drew closer, its lights lit up the dark sky. Not warships, not raiders, just one vessel. Clean, quiet, carrying the last piece of the puzzle. The sky above the shelter shimmered with silver light. The ship hovered like a quiet star, its engine humming smoothly. Not loud, not threatening. Calm, as if it knew the world below had been silent for too long. Jack stood at the entrance of the shelter, his rifle lowered but still in his hand. His eyes watched every move. His fingers were steady, but inside, his heart raced. Kalari stood beside him, her breath caught in her throat. Rook stood just behind them, his repaired arm clicking faintly, his body tense and ready. None of them spoke. The ship descended slowly, landing on the old platform Jack had cleared hours ago. The dust swirled around the landing gear, then settled. A ramp opened. One person stepped out. A woman in a dark gray suit, human, real. Breathing. Her face was older, marked with time and stress. Her eyes scanned the scene in front of her and widened when they met Jack's. She took one step forward. Captain Jack Rowan. Jack blinked. That's me. The woman stared for a second, then whispered, they said you were dead. I almost was, he said, a few times. She stepped closer. I'm Commander Elia Kane, Recon Unit 4. We received your signal. Jack lowered his rifle completely. Took you long enough. She almost smiled. We've been looking. We lost contact with Sector 09 after the fall of Echelon Base. We thought no one made it. Well, Jack said, stepping aside, some of us did. Kalari stepped into the light, her long coat fluttering slightly in the breeze. Her alien eyes watched the human woman carefully. Elia didn't move. Then, Rook stepped forward. His mechanical foot crunched softly. Ma'am, he said, his voice low. Name's Rook. I think I used to serve in the 11th Battalion. Elia stared. You were reported missing. Years ago. I was modified. Hunted. Almost lost myself. He paused, but they pulled me back. Elia looked at them, all Jack, Kalari, Rook. 3 survivors, not from the same world. Not even the same species, but alive, together. Inside the shelter, Elia sat at the table while Jack poured a small cup of recycled water. So, he said, what's left out there? Elia's expression changed. Not much. The old Earth colonies are gone, but a few human outposts survived hidden in moons, ruins, Mining fields. We've been trying to regroup. Regroup? Into what? A new start, she said. A better one. One where we don't make the same mistakes. Jack raised an eyebrow. Is that why you came alone? She smiled faintly. We couldn't risk sending a fleet. Not until we knew. It's too many false signals. Too many ambushes. Rook nodded. Smart. Kailari leaned forward. So what now? Elia looked at her. We rebuild. We reconnect. And we learn who's still out there. Jack folded his arms. What about her? Kailari glanced at him, surprised. She's not human, Jack continued. But she saved me. She fixed the beacon. She believed there were still good people left. Elia looked at Kailari, then back at Jack. I don't care what species she is, Elia said firmly. Anyone who survived all this and still chooses kindness we want. Them with us. Kailari's eyes filled with quiet emotion. No one had ever spoken to her like that before. Not on her homeworld. Not during the raids. Never, she whispered. Then I'll stay. The next day, the shelter was busy with movement. Supplies were loaded onto the shuttle. Jack salvaged every useful tool, every scrap of tech. Rook downloaded the shelter systems into his memory, just in case they could rebuild it later. Kailar stood at the edge of the landing pad. Looking out at the endless red sand, Jack walked up beside her. You okay? He asked. She nodded. Just thinking about this place saved me, she said softly. You saved me. And now we leave it behind. Jack glanced at the shelter one last time. It gave us what we needed. Now we give others the same. She looked up at him. Do you think there are more? More humans? Maybe? No, more like us, she said. Different, broken, but still good. Jack smiled. I think the galaxy is full of them. As they boarded the shuttle, Elia gave Jack a datapad. These are the coordinates of Haven. It's not much, just an old shipyard turned into a home base, but it's safe. Jack nodded. That's all we need. Kailari held onto a strap. As the shuttle lifted off, Rook sat beside her, silently watching the ground fall away. The red desert faded into a blur. The stars returned, and for the first time in years, Jack saw them not as cold points of light, but as a path forward. Weeks later, Haven-based children laughed in the distance. Jack stood on a metal balcony, watching mechanics fix old Earth shuttles. Humans, aliens, hybrids all working together. Not perfect, not easy, but real. Kailari walked up beside him, her hair tied back, wearing a simple Earth jacket. Still feel like a myth, she teased. Jack chuckled. Some days. Behind them, Rook taught a young girl how to repair a sensor array. His robotic hand moved gently, carefully. Kailari nudged Jack. You know, the galaxy thought humans were extinct. Jack nodded. And maybe, in a way, we were. But now? She asked. He looked around, smiled. Double quotes, now they'll know we were never gone. We were just waiting for the right reason to return.